We jump into our Q&A session. And the first question we have is from Sunny Singhal, who's a part of our audience. And he runs a real estate agency, and he wants to know how can he run ads, which ad campaign can he run on ShareChat in order to generate more leads for his real estate business.
Well, Sunny, thank you for attending the chat today. And what we can do is, let me help you with two things. One, you can send in your phone number and email ID on the email which is there on the screen, self-serve at ShareChat. My team would surely reach out to you. Also, what you can do is run a lead gen campaign with us on the platform. We already have, quite an exhaustive list of real estate clients which are there on the platform. My team would actually aptly guide you towards the kind of bidding and the campaigns that you should be doing on the platform, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Seema. We have another question from Mr. Amit. He has a sports store which is up in the north in tier 2, and they're planning to open another branch in the south, and they are planning to take the creator out. So
Wow.
basically, how can ShareChat and Moj help in this regard is what the question is, and what should they exactly do if you could help them with that?
Amit, first of all, accept my congratulations. I mean, I think that's amazing, the kind of work you are doing. I mean, if you are going from north to south, I'm imagining your business is really expanding. And I wish you success for that. Secondly, you would be very happy to know that when it comes to numbers and our presence, South is one market where we have, fantastic numbers, not only in terms of our MAUs and DAUs, but also in terms of the kind of regional creators we have. I mean, you could talk of any language. It could be Kannada, it could be Malayalam, it could be Tamil, Telugu. We have very specific regional creators with the absolute pure dialect that you would need. So depending on the region that you are launching your sports good in, we can help you creating a HTC or an influencer activation campaign for you, depending on the kind of, the days you want to campaigns run in. You can do a roadblock with us in specific regions. We can do region-wise, vernacular-wise campaigns for you. And I really urge you, Amit, to just write in a mail to me on the email ID given, mention your phone number, and for sure, we will reach out to you in less than 24 hours.
Wow. Great. We have a question. Is there any minimum ad spend per day?
I would not call it a minimum ad spend there. I mean, there is no minimum max limit as such. I mean, there would be certain criteria which are available on the site, but I don't know who has asked me this question and what category are you talking of, but let me just tell you what works on not only my platform, but any platform. So, every platform, every category has a specific threshold, on which you get an optimum result. So depending on, it could be, you could be a retail e-com client, or you could be a real estate client, or an ed tech, or it could be like Amit had, the sports store. Depending on what category, what KPIs, and what audience do you want to reach out, generally the spends should be, decided. Do not decide it with, as to what is the entry level on a platform. My entry level could be 1,000 rupees. But for all that, you might be playing in a category which is, which has very different kind of players. So always have a chat with our team, the sales team, and decide what would be that optimum level of investment which would give you the desired result. So please, I mean, whosoever has asked this question, please do get in touch with us on the email ID, and let us give you that system learning and the recommendation of what should be your investments on the channel to start with.
We've got another question related to budgets, but I'll get to that after this one. This is from Shreyas Pillai. If we are to penetrate into the rural population for a security related brand, How can the platform help? Number one. And how good is the consumption of the content in such regions?
Extremely good. I mean, if you were to hear to not only me, because I am obviously talking from ShareChat and Moj lens, but if you have listened to the entire conversation of what Barin had to say, you really need to actually understand that these tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns have two top qualities. One, their attachment towards vernacular and the content consumption in that language. And second is the growing purchasing power today. Somebody sitting in a tier 3, tier 4 town is always going through the content and consuming it even more if they are able to relate it. I might be a Bhojpuri speaking audience, and if I'm looking at the content in my language, I will not only relate and connect, but also end up consuming it more. And the more interesting, your message has to go out in first 3 to 4 seconds. The content has to be interesting enough. And do not even worry about the purchasing power these towns have, because they have amazing purchasing power. We actually did a Moj study, and it is available online. I mean, if you were to look at it, you would figure out how these towns, you call them rural towns, but we call them evolving tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 markets. How these evolving markets are today actually deciding, let digital world decide their maximum purchasing power, or the decision making of anything. So if you are a security, you said security company, right? So if you're a security company, uh, please approach our sales and the creative team. We will ensure that your message reaches out to the audience in less than 3 to 4 seconds, and the right set of audience.
Baran, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think I mean, we've spoken about it during our chat, that it is extremely important to look at that, from a local audience perspective. So I think Seema has covered pretty much. It is the way to look at it. Yeah. Let me be honest. I think if we were having this conversation 5 years back, probably an adaptation would have worked. But I think if you as a brand want to communicate, and like Seema said, in fact, on the contrary, I believe that, the aspiration of the audience in a tier 2 today, as a Bombay guy or a Delhi guy, you can just walk into a Zara store, right? But the access to Zara is pretty limited to a guy sitting in, and with D2C now enabled in most cases. I think it was never about the purchasing power. They always had the money to buy, but digital has given that access. So if you start, but and the moment you start talking in a local language, you are no more a brand that's alienating me or intimidating me, right? I feel that you understand my language and therefore understand me better. So I think that's the only way to go, if you ask me.
And I think we've got time for the last question, which is again from an anonymous attendee. They are a small hair oil brand. And what are the budgets the brand should set aside for influencers to use influencers for their campaign? So what kind of budgets should they, look at working around?
Thank you for attending the session. And, I must tell you something. We have a amazing community, of the industry that you are part of already, as, on our platform, both ShareChat and Launch. We do immense work with all the advertisers from South, specifically from Mysore, when it comes to the hair oil category. We can not only run, the vanilla advertising, but also, like I said, those regional creator specific campaigns. It could start again. My answer to that budget would be, Anushka, uh, please do not go by a set budget. Go by what your KPIs and what your deliveries are. Go by what the need of and the requirement of your brand comms could be. There are cases wherein other brands might need to put in some 30, 50, 40 lakhs, but could be your message reaches out to audience in just 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs, or it could be, a vice versa case. So let us understand your KPI. Let's understand what you want to and who you want to reach out to. Once we understand that, I think that would be the time that we can sit down on the table and discuss budgets. Anushka, do we have a time for one last question? Because there's a very interesting question for only Barin in the end.
Oh, yeah, sure. You may have missed it.
I would love Barin to take that up.
Yes, sir, my question is more about youth on ShareChat. Is it relevant for real estate, right? That
The
one?
question for Barin is, how's the digital language changing with regards to brands and influencer association?
Hi. Sorry, I kind of missed the first part. Could you please repeat the question?
Barin, this is an anonymous attendee and he's asking you, how's the digital language changing with regards to brands and influencer association?
Again, I would say we've already discussed it, but if you ask me just to reiterate, I think brands are talking multilingual now. In fact, the content, if you see every piece of content that you see coming on OTT now comes in 5 different languages, right? That's the biggest proof of the consumption that is happening in local languages, right? Entire shows are being done in dubbed in different languages, and I think brands have been very, very receptive to this, because at the end of the day, it is the efficacy of the money that you put on to creating communication and deploying communication that actually builds the confidence further. So I think brands are looking at languages. In fact, in the last conversation, I said that is probably the only way to go, because if you are expecting to create, of course, in certain categories, probably it works better than the others. But if you are thinking that one piece of communication, or you know that is it, and that will connect with the entire country's population, I don't think that's the case. You have to look at talking in the local language, and therefore work with in content creators within that region to be able to render the communication in a manner which is more relatable to the local audience. So I think it's a must have. It's no more a good to have. That's how I see it. uh,
Absolutely rightly said. I mean, from a option, it has moved to a requirement today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think most brands are doing it. I don't think anyone has missed out on that. Yes, some have been a little cautious. And, like Seema, you took through the concerns that brands have. How am I coming across? But I think 99% of the brands are at least open to having this conversation today because they understand the power of it. So,
Right. Anushka, over to you.
Awesome. So with that, we come to the end of our masterclass.